My mic was off until now, but I decided to turn it on. Uh, yeah, man, it's that time. I'm just gonna have a little kind of mess around and procreate. See what I see what I come up with. Whatever ideas shoot out. I'll be real. Like the whole time I've had the iPad, I've always had this like strange kind of idea about drawing on Procreate. Like it's almost like some strange block where I haven't really freed myself to really just loosen up and just use it for what it is and create, the things that I think or the things that I know I can create, and just it's always been some kind of this ain't this tool ain't Photoshop kind of mental game. So now I've decided, like, forget about that. We're just gonna draw stuff. Character starting to take form. See what type of hair he has. You know me. I like to draw black characters. So for me, him being like some kind of black character is a big thing. It's very on brand for me. I didn't come into this with any specific idea though, so I'm just kind of trying to figure it out on the fly. Story of my life. uh, I was on the tram today, and I know this brother from the gym. I think he goes by the name Teddy. I don't know if that's his real name. It could be, but he's got these really cool dreads, and I'm thinking about getting dreads very similar myself. But he has his whole head dreaded. If I get dreads, it will not be my whole head, because I like the sides. I like to be able to go barbers, so I like the sides to kind of be free, so I can get like patterns on the side of my head and stuff, like a few lines and stuff like that. So I think this character's kind of just gonna have Teddy's dreads. And a top lip. Look, ooh, it's got a top lip. We'll go in, look at the whole head placement. Add some more dreads. Neck, boom, big neck. I like to just kind of accentuate the neck like that, bring it straight out. Just kind of gives your character some power, especially if it's a man. It's a male character, and then you can kind of, from there, I can go in and start figuring out what I'm doing about the outfit. Maybe it's like some strange futuristic outfit that has a bunch of buttons on it. A bunch of compartments. Maybe this is just regular neck. We could have, that'd be cool, right? Boom. Some kind of a badge, maybe. Something. There we go. Go in, add some penciler details, just roughly. Some chin here. Go and do a little bit of cleaning up before I do my colours. This is relaxing. I haven't just done this in a while. Just, you know, just open Procreate and just I'm not thinking about, you know, what I usually have. I have a bunch of ideas and I kind of blast between them, and stuff gets abandoned. So, you know, I'll have an idea one day and I might execute one of them, and then other stuff might get sacrificed and never get executed. And that's not what I'm doing now. I'm actually sitting here and doing, you know, going through the process of creating something. So there's a few, now we've got our, you know, basically finished pencils. It's time to do our flat colours. There's a few more things we can do, a few more kind of like ways to add detail, make your character look a little bit more masculine and such. And they work regardless. All right, so let's just make a selection. Now, there's a bunch of ways to make a selection. One way is to go outside of everything we've got. So I'm gonna duplicate this layer real quick. Ooh, it's a little bit too dark, but on the duplicate, I'm gonna just like really make the outline thick of the entire drawing. So if I do that, and this it might be the longest way to do it, but might make life a little easier in a minute. Funnily enough, whilst doing this, I'm having this thought that I could have just literally done this with the selection tool instead of doing this and then trying to get a selection in a minute, because that might not even work, but we will see. The reason I picked up Procreate and started doing this today is because I had a client job where I was doing some sketches and I've just sent them off to get them approved. So I'm here just trying to make sure that I can select this. So then we hit selection, hit automatic, go outside. See, still didn't work, right? So unfortunately for me, or selection. Because for some reason there's something here that still doesn't feel like a closed edge. So that was, you know, the first attempt failed. So let's hit second attempt. Simple and plain, we just select it. Dead easy. Oh, still need to get freehand up. Dead easy. We can hit color fill as well, because we're going to fill it with color straight after we've selected it. Gonna go over warm tone, some kind of warm tone. Okay, let's get selecting. Now you can do dot selection, like by just dabbing where you want to dab, or you can draw it. Just straight pull everything. So just like how I was outlining, you could do it like this if you want to. It's funny because I still don't think Photoshop has updated to have a selection tool that you can actually just leave wherever you're drawing like this. Whereas in Procreate, you can just leave your selection tool. You can just lift your hand up. Whereas in Photoshop, it's like you have to do the whole selection without lifting your hand up, or it just doesn't work. Especially if you're using the free throw lasso tool. In Photoshop, it's called the lasso tool. I always reference Photoshop on this channel because Photoshop was my bread and butter, was my first tool that I really used for years, and still probably is the best for, digital painting in general. It might not be the best in terms of its brushes, in terms of its brush engine and everything, and that might have really changed now with the mixer brush and all that kind of stuff. I'm not quite sure. But still, when I first discovered the mixer brush, it wasn't that cool. Like, it wasn't as cool as like what Coral Painter could do. Procreate's mixing brushes might even be better, to be honest. But I wouldn't know. I don't even use the mixer brush when I use Photoshop. I don't see a point. I just use, one of the hundreds of brushes that concept artists and illustrators have been using for what feels like 10, 20 years now, and they work fine. Okay, selection done. For whatever reason, it didn't. There we go. So I was selecting on the invisible layer. So now everything's visible. I've got my flats in. I've got my lines over the top. I'm going to change my lines to multiply or even like overlay. See what that looks like. The problem with overlay is if you go under it and start doing stuff that's bright, the lines might disappear. So it's always good to stick to hard light or multiply, because even with hard light your lines might disappear, right? But I changed the wrong layer to hard light. I don't know why I did that. So this top layer, the lines have changed now to hard light. So if I go underneath and get too bright, it still stays. So I think hard light might be for me. I'm gonna go here right now. I'm just gonna change those lines, change the color of the lines to kind of a cool, a warm tone, like a red, and then get to painting. So make a clipping mask, connect it to the paint layer, the flat color layer, and then start looking at how I'm going to create my character's skin tones, what colors I'm going to use, all that kind of stuff. As I said, I like to create black characters, so I'm starting with a flat black or a flat brown for the skin. The person that this character is inspired by, Teddy, he's like very dark. So this character is more my skin tone. I'm more like this skin tone. Teddy is a dark brother. So I'm going to make this a lot darker. Probably a little bit more red. Boom. I don't like the way that happened, but it was okay. It worked okay for me. It was fine. I'm gonna probably... Then again, I might leave the dreads like a light colour because I haven't done that many kind of light colour dread characters, but I'm not sure. Still, the bits with his hair, like, would be a little bit darker. I think this is a cool colour for the dreads. And what I also like to do is, I like to kind of have all my colours on one layer. I don't like to kind of mess around too much. But to be honest, the way I work in Procreate, and it is very similar to Photoshop, but the way I work in Procreate is very case by case basis with a lot of stuff. Like it's not always an absolute of how I'm gonna work. Off topic, I've been playing Elden Ring, right? Now, I'll be honest, I couldn't get into it at first because it was too hard, it was too strange, and I've played a few Souls games with my friends, but never really just gone in alone on one. I played a little bit of Bloodborne with my friends as well, and then I dabble on my own, but I don't really play. So Elden Ring, I've been trying to figure it all out. I still can't, but I'm having a lot of fun. It's a very challenging game. I understand why it got Game of the Year, because as a game, it challenges you, it pushes you to think outside the box. It makes you want to go explore. It makes you want to go find more ways and get more powerful before you fight certain opponents. And so it has advantages of it makes you want to play it. Which is a feeling I haven't had from a game for years. So for me, I was kind of like happy with the fact that it has that feeling. Should it have got Game of the Year over God of War? Most likely. God of War doesn't even have New Game Plus. Elden Ring has a bunch of cool features. It has a bunch of things. You can make different builds within the game. You can play the game completely differently every time you play it. It's a very interesting concept within itself. I don't think God of War has that. So for me, Elden Ring is the Game of the Year for a reason. Now, when I was drawing this, I wouldn't have imagined these are the colours I would have used. But right now, I'm okay with it. So what I'm going to do quickly, hit this with a curves adjustment and brighten it just a little bit. Why did I do that? Well, I'm going to add some shadows very soon, because these videos aren't designed to be extremely long. They're designed to kind of more illustrate like how you can do stuff in art without having to break the creative and technical bank in terms of like techniques and stuff like that, and time. So a lot of people think painting and drawing and colouring stuff in is extremely time intensive. I'm here to kind of show you that, like, well, it's not as bad as you think. Yeah, I think I completely just flopped these lips. I made them brighter for some reason, like, so I had to make that right. Like, he's not wearing lipstick, guys. All right, so there's little things you can do in the flat color stage like this. Just add your dark areas. There will be some. You don't have to add all of them, but add some, just so you have like a little bit of darkness before you start adding other stuff. So just filling in this logo. Do these logos. I never really think about the colors. I just think, okay, let me get like some shapes and do something. Okay, so we're in. We've got a basically realized, finished kind of character. We can go in and start adding some stuff now. So firstly, I'm gonna look at adding some like lighting, because right now it's just flat. So go straight in, make a new layer, hit the clipping mask, same as basically what we've got. We'll make a multiply layer, and then we can kind of drop get with a color that's quite bright and make it a cool tone in the blue range, right? And then we can have a look at how bright and dark it is, and we'll throw that over the top. Boom. So all of a sudden we've got this dark image, right? And then there's a bunch of things we can do. What you should do is a mask, right? A mask, and then within the mask you can push and pull whatever you want. Now, I don't usually use a mask in Procreate. I'm doing it specifically for this video because I don't want you guys to get lost and lose a lot of your detail, But it is also the easier way to do this, and this is kind of one of the easier ways to light your artwork is using a mask or using a overlaid color and then painting out. In the art community, we call it going from dark to light, and it's pretty much foolproof, and it will help you kind of like create, dynamic lighting scenarios. But you have to learn some stuff about lighting first. Maybe reference a photograph. I myself am a professional photographer, so I understand how this stuff works. Plus, I spent years drawing, and painting, digitally and traditionally. So there's a bunch of stuff that I just know that other people might not know. So if you're seeing me doing this and you're like, how does he know? Don't try and replicate exactly what I'm doing by trying to wing it. Learn about lighting, get yourself a reference or something like that, or some kind of a lighting scenario. It even could be someone else's artwork. Just get a reference image so you can kind of like have something to think about. So we're on a mask, right? So I've just painted all that stuff I was done with black, right? So whenever you want to bring the stuff back, you just switch over to white and you paint back in what you've lost. And that's why I made you guys paint on a mask, so you always could paint back in and get some like sharp edges when you might want some sharp edges. With these dreads, if you add some like little lines here, it gives us like some kind of form to the dreads more than what we've been having. Helps us get a little bit of extra detail too. So we've got lighting from the right to the left. Lights hitting here, right? We don't have any lighting coming from here. So what I'm going to do now is add what is called ambient light. And ambient light is like, it's like light that comes from the environment. So what I'm going to do for that is set this layer to screen. I'm just going to kind of like lightly brush over with this blue. And this funny thing about this video, this tutorial, whatever you want to call this, is all my brush strokes have been done with a flat oval brush, which I made, which I'm probably going to include in like a brush pack in maybe the next video. But yeah, it's a flat oval. It's designed to kind of be like a Photoshop brush. But what I am doing here, I'm taking the smudge tool. I'm smudging that ambient light. I probably should have just done it with the airbrush, but smudge all this as well. Change the color a little bit. I think that's fine. So now we've got ambient light. We've got light from this side got ambient light from the left. We've got daylight from the right. And then what we can do, another thing we can do is make an adjustment layer. Add, even screen, but I'll go with add. And get airbrush. I'm going to pin this to my... recents because you always need an airbrush. I've just found out about that feature as well. The pin feature is ridiculous. It's so good. So my tips for creating glows, because this is what I'm doing now, I'm trying to create a glow, right, is you get an extremely saturated color and you get extremely dark so you can control it. And then you just kind of like go in. Okay, so now we're starting to make some progress. So, we came from having basically this, which is still cool within its own right, to a place where we've got this going on. A lot of little scenarios happening within the image. Now, what I do think is that we could probably benefit from brightening up the base color. So I've duplicated it right here. I'm going to hit the hue saturation. I'm going to hit brightness. In fact, I'm not even going to hit hue saturation. I'm going to hit curves. I'm going to turn it up and brighten it a little bit. Just because sometimes it can be deceiving how bright your image is. I think before that would have struggled to print well, would have been very dark. So just brighten it up a little bit. We've still got all cool lighting scenarios and everything. We've just brightened it up a tad. And we can go in again, make a clipping mask. On the clipping mask. And we can get ourselves an overlay layer. Now, this is basically going to be dodging and burning. I'm going to get white. By selecting that white area, I'm just going to go in and just, on overlay, I'm just going to paint white on the areas that are in light. And if you want, you can offset the white with like a extremely bright yellow. I think that will work out a little bit better. And funnily enough, actually, I also want to take this and clip and mask it, that top add layer. I want to clip and mask it. That noise you heard in the background was my PlayStation 5 basically saying my controller has died. Or it's disconnected because I was watching an interview and I started drawing, which means I've been drawing probably about half an hour, give or take. Okay, so now time for some kind of like finishing details. I guess I don't want to go too crazy with this image, but what I do like to do, I'm the type that likes to kind of paint and draw on like one layer. So that's a group. Now I'll duplicate it. I'll hide the bottom one and I'll flatten that. So that's one layer now. I'll hide the lines. Oh, the lines were never part of the group in general. So I'm going to duplicate those lines, chuck them in that other group. And then I'm going to merge them down with what I've got here. So I have one layer now of my character with his lines and everything. I can mess around with him in curves, see what I can get out of it. See what pushing and pulling I can get. here and there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just paint. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna paint some stuff here and there. I'm gonna add some finishing details to the character and see, and then I'll you guys will see kind of like what I would do to just bolster the image a little bit more. Always add the color of the light in the eyes, or even just a white, but sometimes maybe an off white. Maybe it's not always a a straight white, but and another thing I like to do, which is very simple, but I like to a lot of the time get a very solid brush. In fact, I'll leave that for in a minute. I'm gonna do a few more things to this to just add detail and power to what we've got. So what I'm doing here, I'm just adding like highlights to the ambient light, just to add extra detail. Pretty much everything I'm doing is just to add like extra detail, just here and there, just little bits, cleaning up some of the blunders in my colouring or my line art. Using the smudge tool to just smudge certain things together. So normally when I have a character like this, I'll pretty much add an open mouth as well. I think that looks better than not having it. I think that's cool, right? And then stuff like this, say this is a piece of fabric, always have like light going across the different sections of the clothes. Okay. By the way, Teddy, the guy that I used as reference for this, he does not have blonde dreads at all. That was completely my call. Dr. Umar Johnson, don't destroy me for that. Just in a fictional universe, some black characters in this universe can actually grow blonde hair. Let's just go with that. Okay, so I think we've gone from this to this, you know. So what I'm gonna do now is quickly go in with a multiply layer and add some cell shaded shadows, and then do some smudge tool stuff. So clipping mask, hit multiply, get a very flat, thick brush. I didn't hit multiply, hit darken. Get a very flat, thick brush like this, straight flatness. No, doesn't have no opacity on it to kind of help it through, like the other brush. I get think about a cool tone or even a neutral tone or even a brown would do, and then get it to be quite bright, so it doesn't do too much damage. I'd go a little bit darker than that though, and just start looking at like creating some shadows anywhere you see fit. Go in and just start making some shadow shapes. This is like normally one of my favorite parts of the process. I'm not sure how well it will go down today because I don't always use the same techniques for this type of stuff, but we'll see. It might be good to just kind of go through the process. Sometimes it looks good, and sometimes it looks like so good that you don't want to do any smudging of it, because a lot of the purpose of this technique is to use the smudge tool as well to get like a smoother kind of like transition. But sometimes you just don't feel like using it because it just looks good. See, so for me, instantly we've already got like a bunch of cool detail from just doing this that we just didn't have before. I also kind of use this to like bolster a lot of the details and stuff I've tried to pre-establish as well. So it's not just for this purpose, it's like I try and use it for multiple purposes. Okay, the ear is it's a well of shadow, so, and then behind the ear, we can do this dread behind the ear as well. That dread there, we can have that. This can be an entire shadow area. This can be some shadow here. But yeah, it's always about just making decisions and seeing how you feel about it. So I think what I've done here is pretty decent. I'm gonna start the process of smudging some of it. Not all of it, but start the process of, smudging some of it. Okay. So you do get the smudge tool. Now, my favorite smudge tool is what I call the true Z-Dig, which is Z-Dig is an artist who does his own projects now. He's a Twitch streamer. He used to be kind of like big. Well, he still is big, but he kind of came away from doing, for me, his original style, which was very painterly, and I really loved his work. And now he doesn't really promote that stuff. He does very kind of like cell shaded stuff now, which is interesting. But I got into Z-Dig because of the way he used to do like cool, like stylish paintings. And now it's like the way he describes painting, it's a bit deep. The way he describes painting in like his live streams is like, he's just not on it. He just says painting's too much effort and stuff. And it's strange because that's the stuff I fell in love with. Like I've got Pinterest boards that are just called Z-Dig. I recreated his brush back for myself, like, because his work to me was just that good. She was just such a, and we're the same age. We're literally, both. I think we're both 92. He might be 91. I'm not sure, but I think we're both 92. 1992. So, big admiration for Z-Dig. And every so often he does do some painting, though, some stuff that's like more painterly than just cell shaded. But so yeah, I think we've done that. We've got that layer, and obviously now it's on a layer, you can adjust it as you see fit. So let's hit with curves again. You see, you get all of that extra darkness basically for free. And I think we'll call it a day there. We'll call this one finished. So we got the dread, the blonde dread character that we legit was just a complete sketch. We came in, it was just completely and utterly just a sketch we had. We started to go forward with our process, and we end up here with a variety of techniques that are quite simple to use. I'm hoping that I conveyed them all properly and everything so people can understand how to use them. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I might quickly add just one more layer, set to overlay, and I think it would be good to actually just clip and mask it. So set to overlay again, and a very light yellow again, and just kind of go in and just add some yellow hot spots to this light, just to make this light pop a little bit more. There we go. I think that light really pops now. I think it's like, yeah, he's really in the sun. I think the sun's really shining over here. So that's what I wanted to go for more so than anything else. Like, it's really bright kind of sunlight, and his character kind of stood in it. That's why he's got the hard shadows, I don't know how that's a multiply layer, but whatever. So my this character actually accidentally turned to a multiply layer. Now, a lot of the times, if I don't want to draw the sky, I'll use a photograph, or I might do some painting. Like I have a bunch of brushes where I could just paint some clouds and stuff. I don't mind. But I prefer to quite often just get a photo. But there are, as I said, there's a bunch of techniques to use. There's a bunch of ways around it. So I would say filter, we'll go right here, Gaussian blur, and we'll just blur that out. That's number one. Then secondly, chromatic aberration. I always use this. And that's even more. So now we just have a cool background, just like that. Out of nowhere, dead easy, dead simple. Now on top of everything, make a new layer. Right here, 50% gray. Straight down to 50. Drag that down, boom, it looks like it's consumed all, but we switch it to overlay. When it's overlay, we can go filter, noise, and then you go close, you can see the noise. We'll add some noise, and we'll do that much noise. So we've got noise now, we've got filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we'll blur the noise out. So now we've got character with noise and everything and all these things. And we can go right here. This is another thing that's a cool way to kind of finish up. Copy canvas, hit paste. So we've copied it, we've hit paste. We can go here and we can do color balance because we haven't done that whole process. I always like to hit shadows first, see what the cyan's saying. Highlights, hit that with the yellow. See, I don't like how Procreate does the yellow highlights, so I'm just gonna go blue. Midtones, I hit that with the yellow. Have a look at the subtle difference between the two. And literally that is it. That is the end of this process. For me at least. Sometimes I do like to do a sharpen up the image. And then after the sharpen, I duplicate again, and I like to do a chromatic aberration. And then I like to kind of just erase. But there's different types of chromatic aberration. So there's the one I just used, which is the displace one. And there's another one. But I'm going to just quickly go into the detailed areas like the eyes and stuff and just erase out. And that is it, just erasing little things, not erasing absolutely everything. Letting some of the aberration just breathe, you know. And that is it. So guys, thank you for watching. I'm gonna throw my logo in this bottom corner. Thank you guys for watching. It was it was fun for me to do this. I don't do this that often. It's fun to talk. It's fun to just be here, and so thank you guys. That is how you kind of quickly whip together a character in Procreate and light it pretty easily, and it seems like it's a finished painting. Thank you guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace.